Hello and welcome to another episode of Adventures in .NET. I'm Sean Kleber, your host, and with me today, your co-hosts, Adam Fermonic. Hey, Adam.
Hello, folks.
Hey, nice to see you. And Christian Wenz.
Hi, everyone.
Hey,
Good to be
nice
back.
to see you too. You guys been busy? Been doing some traveling? Moving?
As always, yes. And the worst part is the more traveling is yet to come, so you will miss me probably a little bit more in the upcoming episodes.
Oh no, we got to give you a traveling station to do this stuff on,
That sounds great.
We should really do that because I've got all my traveling behind me now, but I've got a very long vacation or relatively long vacation coming up in a couple of weeks, so I have to enjoy this as long as I can.
Yeah, you people from Europe, you get those long vacations.
All right. We have more than 4 holidays a year. But I was actually researching recently how to do like podcasts and other stuff while working remotely. And now I can do anything like post-process videos, record stuff while traveling with no hassle at all. It took a while to prepare that stuff. And the funniest thing is it's easier for me to post-process video by no machining into my macOS, which is remote somewhere in the US, rather than running things locally. This is crazy.
Wow.
All right. Well, let's welcome our guest today. For today, it's Haim Kastner.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for the invitation. So, how to
Yeah.
start?
So, why don't you start it off by just kind of give us an introduction about yourself, how you got into development, how you got into .NET, and what kind of things you work on with .NET.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually started to develop in my 20s. I did it just learn by myself. And I really like to develop. It's for me, it's something like art, So I'm really enjoying to see something that you're thinking about something, you writing down in your notebook the infrastructure, and then it's alive. So it's like a magic for me. So I really like to do that, and I'm doing it in the last 10 years. Currently, I'm a team leader and software developer, a software engineer at Checkpoint, which is a cybersecurity company based here in Israel. I'm a team leader of full stack that we are working on front end, back end, and services and APIs. So this is basically what I'm doing in my day job. And a few years ago, I have worked heavily in my day-to-day, in my day work in .NET, in GIS systems. And this is actually the topic of what I'm guest to here for. Is basically to talk about this. So how to work in units, specifically in .NET, but it's not only .NET, it's something that's related to whatever language or technologies that you are using. But it started from .NET, and the .NET has the biggest library and support in that area. So it's started from there.
You're not talking about unit tests. You're talking about actually units, like units of measurement and things like that.
Yeah. Units of measurement. So, if in case you had if you worked or working in system that it's heavily used measurements, like if you're working on a GIS system, for example. So every function almost that you call is something like length or angle or distance between something or time. So time is not only in GIS, it's actually in any system always. Always there is something that it's about time, milliseconds or something. But if you're working in GIS, this is actually most of what you are doing in your day-to-day. And what I had is that we worked on a GIS system, and we got like kind of a nightmare of working with units. So you know how it's going when you develop a software. Like if everyone is writing its own units or measurements, how it wants, like not even if we are talking about if you're consuming or producing APIs, but also within your own system, every function that you call. Okay, so like if you have a function to do the basic, GIS calculation, like measuring the distance between two points, okay, in the world. So what you need, like a Pythagoras formula. So you need xy of one point, other point xy, and then you can calculate the distance between them. But you don't understand what actually the function is want in the parameters, which measurement. Okay, so it should be distance, like length. It should be for 2 points, but you don't know. Okay, so does this function wants it like in meter, in kilometer, in watts? You don't know. Okay, so you're trying to figure out in the documentation or asking someone that actually wrote it, or trying to test it and to understand what exactly is going there. Okay, so all of the code is like a lot of places when you need to understand what is the actual. Okay, so you need length, but you need to figure out which length it is. Okay, what is represent? And so I guess the most normal solution for such cases is, okay, so always write down what is the length, like position in meters, if we are talking about Cartesian representation of a position, or angle in radians or in degrees, or time, so in milliseconds or in seconds. So all the code base began to be like a big mess of adding names to the variables with the specific measurement type that you want to use. So we have started to work like this, but this is also have a lot of problems. First, is very annoying to do so. Okay, so like think about, you need to explain every variable. You need to explain itself what is the measurement it is, while the only thing that you want to do is just to pass lengths and pass angle or something like this. And the second biggest problem with it, that's all of the code is filled with conversions, because if you have like old code that using yards, and then your code is with meters, okay? So you need to convert when you send it to this formula, the function that does something, and to convert back. And you need to make sure that your conversion is correct. So actually, all of the code, even if you described very well what is the unit, what is the type of the unit, still all of your code is a lot of these conversions. And if someone made some mistake and by mistake didn't convert exactly how it should be, all your spaghetti code became to just crash. And to debug and to understand where is the exactly point of where someone did some mistake in calculating radians from degrees, where it's happened and where it's come. So the solution for it, of course, is to create like a common file or common library that exists with all of the conversions, and then this file getting bigger and bigger with convert from meter to kilometer, from kilometer to meters, convert from yard to nautical miles, convert from everything to everything, and it's getting huge and it's very hard to maintain. And at this point, we understand that we have a problem. We don't have a proper solution for it. Okay, so we want to represent unit, but it's become a nightmare. And this is before we are starting before we even starting to talk about that we have, we're consuming and producing APIs. So it means that we need from every point to understand what is the unit that they are using, how to convert it to our system and vice versa to the other side. And then some at this point we like a few years that we worked like that, and then some co-worker represent to me the UnitsNet library, and I have to say, not changed my life, but it was something that I understand what exactly was our problem and why it's so good to solve it. So this great library does is to understand that, we don't care about whatever it's meter or kilometer or it's angle to this angle in radian or degree. We just want to represent something that will be like a primitive. We want angle, okay? And we want length, and this is all what we want. And in all of our system, like all of the parameters in the functions and the return and the objects and the interfaces and whatever we are creating, we don't want to even talk about what is the value, how to represent the value of the length. We just want length. The only place that we need to actually know the unit of measurement that we're actually using is when we getting out or into our system. So all of our system within it using only degree or length or whatever type of unit it is, and only when we coming outside or inside we deciding. And when we coming to inside and outside, it will be very clear. It's a crystal clear what is the unit. So the style, if I will be able to share a screen, I will show you in the example. It's the most simple way. It's create angle from meter, and then you have angle, and then you have the angle. You can like dot to meters or to something, and you don't need to do it anywhere in your system. Only if it's when you're going out or into the system, like when you're consuming some data from somewhere or producing data to someone. And because it's so simple, and if you also implementing like overriding the operational, the basic operational of the language in it, it means that like you can go and multiple lengths with lengths and divided by time that passed. Okay, so the basic formula to calculate a distance in a time. Okay, so what is the distance that you walk? If you're walking like you started from one point, you walk like 2 minutes. Where are you standing? Okay, so the formula is very clear. Like the representative of the formula is take your position, double it with the time, and you will get the result. And in all of this calculation, you don't need to understand whatever you are in meter or kilometer. You're just taking two objects of length. You're taking object of length, calculating, doubling it with the time, and getting a new position which is represented by length. And that's all. You have never starting to talk about if it's meter. You don't need to go to this part. Like you have a primitive length. So this solution is so good because it solves the issue from the fundamental of the problem. The problem is that you have the length and you have the representation of the length. Okay, so you represent the length in meters or in whatever it is, but in the real world, it's just the distance. You are just trying to describe the distance with some units that someone invented some 100 years ago. So you don't really care about it. So only if you need to tell to someone else outside of your system what is the length, you need to specify some unit, because this is how people or systems talk. So they're expecting to not tell me it's a distance one, it's just expecting me to tell it's a distance one in some unit, like in meter. So it's 1 meter, which is the same like saying 10 decimeter. It's just the same. It's the same representation from the same length.
So while it's in the system, you're saying it's just a mathematical calculation is all it has to do. It doesn't care what what the unit of measurement is.
When you're doing exactly when you writing your own formula, your mathematical formula, you don't talk about whatever it's a matter or it's something else. You don't care. You're just saying that the formula is that if you multiply lengths with from one direction, like if you take in the to the right, okay, and you're adding the time, this is the new place that you will get. This is the formula. You don't you're never writing formulas and saying this is in meter and this is in seconds. You're just saying time. It's T for time. This is what you care about. So this is also what you need to do in your code to represent the formula in the correct way. You don't need to always go to the specific unit. We did it because we have to do it because you know how the programming languages work. You need to specify some number, and the number should be specific because you know the number of lengths of you have to specify it, lengths of matter, and then you all the mess is started. But if you implementing similar to primitive lengths, it just everything is vanished. So the problem is not here yet. You came back to do your calculations only these lengths. So
you have
yeah.
Okay, so in previously you had in code so just to get this wrong, right. So you had a method, and the method had an argument called distance, and this was of type int or float or something, and there was like a consensus in the whole development team. Okay, so this is yards, meters, feet, whatever, right? And now you still have the argument called distance, but it's of type capital D distance or something like that, right? Is that so? That's the fundamental change essentially, right? So that's
exactly.
you have
So
the same
you don't
approach,
need...
but you interpret it in a specific way that it is a distance and not a number of meters or a number of yards or whatever.
Exactly. So if one developer in the team is doing the calculation of a moving entity in the world, and another member of the team is working on consuming the from somewhere in the world this entity and sending it to there, they don't need to agree which if they are talking in meters or not talking in meters. One member will do his work in lengths and time, and the other one will just consume it and move for him lengths and time. So they don't need to agree about anything. Just like any, if you're working and you're expecting to some number, you're getting number. If you're expecting to lengths, you're getting lengths. You don't need to agree about what is the specific measurement unit you are using, because you don't using specific measurement. So it simplifies everything, and you don't need to convert, because always you need to convert, because even if two members of the team are talking about, okay, we will work in only in meters, but still you have legacy or not legacy code that's using yards. So, and you want to use it. So you need to convert back and convert vice versa when you're getting the response back. So every time you need to convert. And if all of the team and actually all of the system is moved to work only with the new type of the unit, which is length or angle, you don't need to convert it anymore.
So how hard was it to introduce such a library in your code base? Because it sounds like quite a big refactoring, right?
Yeah. It's a big refactoring, but actually it was easy. Why it was easy? Because you can do it gradually. So every time that, so for a long time, we have a convention that always you need to specify the unit type, the specific unit in your variable, and elsewhere it's just impossible to develop. So every time that you take in one function, okay, so you don't change the signature of the function, okay, but you do create your, within this function, you're consuming, okay, so you got it in yards, so you create my lengths from yards, creating lengths, and continue to work. So you don't have to change your whole system one day, okay? It's impossible to do it. but it's very easy to start removing the code. I think about a year later or so, we almost have no specified units in the system, and the system was big. Because every time we have problems with it. So it was easier to just move to use this, and instead of continue to try someone to somehow to avoid it. So it was easier to do it. The concept of it is very simple. Okay, it's not like introducing a new framework and then everyone need to, I don't know, if someone hated and don't like the way that the framework is approach how to work. So it's like there are people that don't want it and don't contribute to the moving of it. But this one is not a framework, it's a library that it's very easy to use and very intuitive, actually. It's really intuitive. So you're starting to work with units as they should be. So it was very easy to introduce it to the rest of the team and to start moving all the functions to. And also, if you remember, we had a really huge file with a lot of from to, like a lot. So we took one day and we just converted all to the new one. So we didn't change the signature. So you looking at all the calls to this function, which is quite easy with a modern IDE, and you're just replacing all to use the new way of how units is represented, and then you replaced almost half of your code with quite safety that you didn't break the system, and you get rid of this common file so very quickly. So it worked well. Okay.
And what about doing some calculations on the unit? Let's say that I want to add 2 distances or 2, I don't know, angles or whatever. Does the library handle that, or do I need to?
Okay, so let's dive down a bit of how it's implemented inside. So actually, what this library does is that it specified for every unit, it specified the basic measurement type, okay, which is the most common in the industry or whatever type of unit it is. So basically, you have base type for all of them. So in the overriding of let's say the plus, okay, the plus signal of C#. Okay, so actually it's inside is overriding this symbol. So it's doing a plus between the base type and creating a new length. So yes, you can take 2 length objects and add them, and as a response you will get a new length, which is the right length that you're expecting to. So in the background, what it does, it's converted the 2 lengths that you give. You converted both of them to the base unit, which is in length, I think it's meters. So both of them are meters. Then doing the primitive plus between both of them, which is if one is 1 and the second is 2, so it will be like 3. Creating a new length from meters. So you have meter 3, and then you have a new length. So for you as the developer, it's just transparent and you don't care what is going there, but you do plus and you get the response. So you can do whatever formula that you want to do with all the primitives. So everything there, you can divide, you can add, you can check, present, do power off. You can do everything that the language is supported with. So yeah, it's very easy to work with. You don't need to specify your type of measurement when you're trying to do some operations on both of them. Yeah,
that sounds great. And what about crazy naming conventions? Because just like we have miles, nautical miles, and probably 10 different types of miles, just like we have different pint in the US and the United Kingdom, just like we have kilometers, centimeters, millimeters, we could have megameters or decimeters or whatever.
Yeah.
Does the library say? Sean is laughing. Do you even know those units in the US?
Don't forget fathoms.
you forget about the naval units, like nautical miles, and it's a nightmare. So yes, because this is open source and this is a community, and the answer is yes, sure, you can go and see. If you want, I will show it live.
This is primarily a podcast, so if you could have to describe it and things like that. So even though
okay, sure.
so you have to tell it, when you're passing values in, that these are in different units of systems. Like if one value is miles and another value is kilometers, you have to somehow indicate that is the case, right? And it'll do a conversion.
Before, without using this library, yes, but with this library, no, you don't care what was the origin of the lengths that you started with. Once you created, let's say that you created the lengths from nautical miles, and you created another length from meters, okay? And once you created the lengths objects, two lengths objects, it's just, you don't care what was the origin, okay? The library is doing everything for you. So from now and on, you can multiply both of them. So it means that in the name of the variable, you don't need to specify in the name what is the measurement that it came from. Okay, so you can just say what is represent, in the world, like it's represent a position of a ship, or it's a represent a position of some person. Okay, so this is like you will have a point, which is each point is length and length. Let's say we are talking about Cartesian places. So all you need to describe this point with two x and y, which each one of them is just length, and you can call it like my friend position. Okay, you don't need to specify nothing more than this. You don't need my friend's position in meters. It's not in meters, just the position, and the position have x and y, which is length. That's all.
But like 1 mile plus 1 kilometer is not 2 kilometers.
Yeah, so, but you are not talking about not kilometers and not nautical miles. You are talking about lengths. Once you created this object, you're talking about lengths. And if you multiply both of them, you will get the multiply of the lengths. So you don't care if behind the scenes one of them converted from nautical miles to meters, and the other is meters, so we don't need to convert it from anything. And then the doubling was between the 2 meters, and you get, and if you're interested with some other measurement, you will be able to get it from the new lengths. You don't care about it. You only have lengths, and this is what is represent. And this is what you are doing the arithmetic operations on them. You don't care about the origin. And this is as simple as it is also genius, because it's genius because you're working on lengths, and this is what you are doing the arithmetic function on. And still, if you need to somehow go and to understand the real measurement of stuff, you have all of it. And if you said whatever the supported units that they have, you can go and see it. It's on GitHub, it's open source, and you will see, I think there is a 30 or 40 types of something that you can see there, so type of measurement. And I'm not talking about all the micro, mega, nano, and all of this, okay? So this is also something that you can say that you support like a yard, and then you can describe that you also support like a micro yard. I don't know if someone is using it, but anyway, it's supported. So you have all the types of nautical miles, and with all of the kilo, mega, and rest of it. So yeah, it's supported. Like for myself, I didn't see any type of unit that it doesn't support. And we are talking about, lengths and unit, which is quite obvious, but there are like everything, something that I don't even know what it means. Mass and rate of, I don't know, radioactivity of something, everything, okay? It's because, it's a community and it's open. There is I think everything. And if you somehow, I don't understand how it could be, but if you see some units that it's not yet supported, you can add it. Like recently, I saw that someone is opened an issue that he wants to represent like time in Mars. So there was a discussion, and apparently it's going to be sooner or later. So also time in Mars, I don't know how exactly to convert it, but there is a formula that apparently NASA is using it. So they are going to add it. You have like anything there regarding time and regarding mass and I don't know. Go and see it. It's crazy. Okay? It's just crazy. It's endless list. Yeah, it's endless list of all of things that you can accelerations, everything.
And how hard is it to use this library, for instance, when I do persistence? Let's say I have entity framework core, I'd like to save values to database, read them back. How hard is it to use link with that and all the queryables, etc., etc.?
Yeah, it's so there's the the naive solution is that you can choose what will be your default value of units that you will use, and like you can extend the library like to DB value, something like this, or C# supported, and then you will do it in the DB. So every time that you will add like an extension to the entity framework, for example, you will add that every time that it gets this type, you will convert it from and to, like you're adding is kind of a middleware that it will add from to, and let's say that you decide that matter is your the value that you want to use. So you will convert every time from and to, and when you fetching from the DB, you will convert it to length from matter, and when you saving to DB, you will save it to matter, and then in the DB you have to use, of course, you have to use some specific value. In the end, it's just a number that should represent something. So when you're working in your code base, it always be like length, and in the database, you have to use by the end to save it to some specific value. Like let's say in your APIs, you need to choose something. You don't pass like length in the API, which is also something that I want to talk about. Okay, so I understand how the UnitsNet library is built. Is like you have a directory of a lot of JSONs, which each JSON file is represent some type of unit, like one is angle JSON, length JSON, and math JSON, and a lot of JSONs. And in this JSON is described the base value and every new measurement of unit, how to convert from base and to base. Okay, this is all of this JSON is a lot of conversions from and to, and a way of how to write your formula is like X is always the base value, and then do your math. Like if you're trying to convert from meter to yard, it will be X double, I think, something around two and a bit. Don't remember exactly the formula, but something about this. So this is how those files looks like. And then when I've moved to Checkpoint and I started to work more on a JavaScript ecosystem and Python ecosystem. So it was not GIS system, but still I was very missed this library. Okay, I feel that I'm missing her. So I thought, okay, so if we have JSON files to represent those units, why not to create the same for JavaScript? It's for actually TypeScript, not supported on in JavaScript. So why not to do that? And I did it. It was quite easy. So I generated like a package published on NPM, which does exactly and with the very similar infrastructure to what the original UnitsNet does, just for TypeScript, of course, with a bit different code convention because it's not the same technology and there are different code convention, but the overall look and feel is just the same. And then when I started to work in Python, I did the same for Python. And then I realized, and this is something that I think could be very interesting, that actually I want to be able to move smoothly between all of them. Okay, so let's say that a usual system, like the backend is in C# and the front end is some new edge framework with TypeScript, like React or whatever it's used. Okay, so what you need to do in how said, so you created like you're working with your unit in the backend, converting it to, let's say, Matter just to be part of your API, consuming it in the front end, and then converting it to unit in TypeScript, which is, again, feel like, okay, so we have to go through the API, which is by the end HTTP text, if we are using HTTP, which is basically mostly what everyone is using. So you need to specify the type, but actually it will be wonderful if we will be able to somehow make it also transparent. Okay, so the same as we are doing in our own system, okay, which is a monolith. Okay, the monolith that everything within it is the same language with all of them is functions that call each other. If we will be able to somehow represent this unit between systems and between not also backend and frontend, but also between two services in the system. Let's say that you are working not on a monolith, so, which is normally what we are doing now in the modern cloud native. So we have a lot of small processes that everyone is doing his job, microservices, how it's called. So basically, you need to choose. You need every time between one of them, between your system, you need to convert it from and to, and this is start also to be annoying, which is system gets it with its type. Okay, so like every developer feels like he's writing his API and then duration in seconds, milliseconds, how to represent time in epoch in milliseconds or in seconds. Every system has its own. So actually, milliseconds and seconds, it's quite easy to detect because the length of the numbers. So it's very easy to see whatever it's second or micro or nanoseconds. But still, it's very annoying to decide. You need to decide in your API what specific unit you are going to represent, which is very annoying. It's feel wrong. You're writing very beautiful API, and then you need to write there. Let's say currently we are working on a certificate, how much time every certificate is valid. Okay, so for each time from the time that it's signed. Okay, so it's like 2 days. So how to represent these 2 days in the API? To tell 2 days to write in seconds of 2 days. How to represent it? It's very annoying every time, and it feels very bad to do so. Currently the approach that I think is going to be very cool is if there will be a way to, the DTO, so how to represent units or everything in APIs. Okay, so I have used the Open API, which is the very common way how to represent your API, the standard that I'm familiar with. And then to create a type, like if all the flavors of UnitsNet in all the languages and technologies will do the same, it will be very easy. So you're creating a DTO model, which is a model that represent lengths, let's say. Okay, so you call it length DTO. And then within it, you have value and the specified unit that it's represent. Okay, so let's say if it's a matters, so it will be value 1 matter, and the unit will be matter. And then every system will know how to consume and how to read it. Okay, so you can decide to represent your length with whatever type that you want. Okay, so you can keep it like 1 meter or 10 decimeter or 100 centimeters. Okay, but but in the API, it's very clear. You have length DTO within it, value and unit. Okay, and then if you have this like a standard of how to represent it, it will be seamless to all the microservices or the services that you're using, how to consume and to get it. So everyone sees that if there is a length with length DTO, okay, so the library itself know how to consume it and to create a length from it. And also someone that's going to read this API, it will be very easy to him to understand it. Okay, so it's not like you are doing some magic within the API and only the two endpoints of your library knows how to produce and consume it. It's very clear. You have there one matter, which is everyone can understand, or 10 decimeter. It will be very clear to someone that it's outside of the not using UnitsNet. Still, it will be very clear, and the API will explain itself without any extra need to document whatever you are trying to do there. But still, if you are using UnitsNet, it will be like fully transparent for you. If you're working between technologies, so one developer is working with C# and one developer is consuming it in TypeScript, and both of them don't need to agree about anything about how to represent the time of expiration of a certificate. They don't need to agree between them. The consumer doesn't care about what is the type that the backend choose to represent. Okay, if they choose to represent it in Meta, okay, whatever. The TypeScript will consume it, will see that it's Meta, convert it. Don't need to convert it because this is the base, but we'll convert it if it's not Meta to Meta within it and create a length for him. So and this time it will be a duration, not a length. So it's very easy and seamless between technologies. Between different systems. And I think it's very cool because it's also answering the same problem that we had in the first place. You just want to tell the consumer, you just try to tell him, this is the duration of the expiration. This is what you're trying to say. You don't care about whatever it's minutes or seconds. You're just trying to say, this is the duration of it. And the consumer also don't care about what you are trying to say in whatever time that you choose. You just say, okay, this is the duration. I will show the customer, okay, I am the UI. I will show it in meters. I will show it in whatever I want. I just warn him if the time passed. I will do whatever I need to do with it, but I don't want to know how the backend works and what exactly the type that is going to be. And if we will go crazy, and I'm not sure exactly how to do that, but I'm sure that it's possible. I need to research more in order to understand, but probably there is a way. If you are talking about, I'm using mostly for relational database Postgres. So I will not be surprised that there is a way to extend and to create a new type in the DB, which also will be the same. So will follow the same fundamentals of keeping a unit and then consuming it. So you don't need to hack with a middleware. You just can install some plugin or something, and you have new types in your database. And the types is just representation of units. And you can take whatever you want with it. You just get it and you can represent how to do it. I think it's okay. This specific one I didn't yet did it. Okay, so I'm not 100% it's possible. It's just best guess. But if so, it could be really cool. Okay, so everything is representing what you are trying to represent and not what the world is forcing you to do and to represent. Okay, so it's changing the behavior from trying to adopt to how to represent something to this, that the system is adopted to how you're trying to represent something, which is what we are trying to do in the day-to-day development. Okay, so we are trying to go away from assembly and trying to be more intuitive to humans. So we are trying to do our way, and now with AI we are trying. It's started to be crazy, but this is what we are trying to do: is not to align ourselves to computers, but to align the computers to us. Like we don't, yeah.
So is this UnitsNet library, is it fairly complete or is there things you're adding to it all the time?
Okay, nothing is complete in the domain.
Oh yeah, I know.
We are not engineers. It's we are not just building a bridge and say, okay, so how beautiful it is, and everyone is going home. In the software industry, it's nothing like this. Always there is a bugs and something to improve. But I think that currently, yes, the UnitsNet is ready for many years in the C Sharp, and it's very stable, and a lot of people using it. Also, the JavaScript and the Python, which I'm maintaining, is here for long. It's not something new, and you can use it. What I'm talking now about the advanced regarding APIs. So currently I'm testing it. Also, I'm trying to also communicate with the UnitsNet C Sharp owner, also to see their part of it, what they think about it, how to make sure, how to implement it so it will be transparent in all the technologies, which some of them I'm not maintaining. But it's also regarding the APIs and how to represent it. But actually, to use it with your own project is easy as if you are talking about C Sharp, it's in Nugget. If it's JavaScript and TypeScript, it's on NPM, and if it's Python, it's on Pipey and supported. And I think it's really cool library, very lightweight, and really cool.
This seems like something that John Skeet would be very interested in, especially the time stuff that's in there, and maybe comparing that to what he's doing for Nota time. So, is there any last things you want to cover? We don't have much time left. I've got another appointment here in about 10 minutes. So, is there anything left that you wanted to mention before we move on to picks?
Not much, just that I'm very excited about it, and I also working on standard it as part of API. So how to represent it on Open API, which is something that I'm working on. Very hopeful that it will be soon ready on production. And regardless of it, I think that this approach is awesome, and I really recommend, from my experience, I really recommend everyone that's using with units to use with this specific library or their equivalent, which maybe I'm not familiar with. I think it's really cool and really will simplify your code base and even your approach to how to handle such problems. I think it's really cool.
Okay. Yeah. We'll be sure to put links to the project in the show notes for everybody to check out. So, yeah. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to picks. Christian, you want to go first?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So I had something else planned, but I changed course because my pick today is an evergreen, a freeware evergreen. It's 7-zip. I mean, I think with the last Windows 11 update, Microsoft even added 7Z support to Windows, so Windows can now open up 7-zip archives. Still, 7-zip, the software, still free, still going strong. New beta came out today, the day we are recording this. So this is March 22nd, 2024. The source code was not released. So sometimes when new release comes out, Igor Pavlov, the person behind the project, first releases the binaries, and then the source code comes a few days later. Definitely wait for the source code so that someone is vetting it and sees whether the compiled version matches the source code, which absolutely makes sense. But still, going strong. I especially like the performance improvements when using on ARM when decompressing archives, which I already tried out today. and also like the Windows integration of the tool, and I'm a happy user since for quite some time now. All right, so over to you, Adam.
Thank you. So my pick for today has a very bad name from the marketing perspective, because it's called Bluetooth adapter for keyboard and mouse BT500. And while the name doesn't tell you anything, this is actually a great piece of hardware, which can turn any of your keyboard or mouse, wired keyboard and wired mouse, into a wireless one. So you basically plug your keyboard into this tiny thingy. Then it exposes a Bluetooth that you just can connect to your computer, laptop, VR headset, whatever, and bang, your wired keyboard is now wireless. Why would you use that? First, because those wireless Bluetooth keyboards, they tend to suck in terms of what key layouts they have, right? Why don't they make just a full-sized Bluetooth keyboard with all the regular keys I love, with no FM, no short space, and I could go on and on. You just Google the internet, you know what I'm talking about. Second thingy, this little thingy can do remapping of your keys on the fly, meaning that if you want to switch letters, caps lock, whatever else, you can just do that on a hardware level thanks to this one. So when you press a key, it sends a different key over Bluetooth for you. Why would that be useful? First, if you like tuning your keyboard, but second, if you try to connect that to your Android device, which misinterprets the keys you have on your keyboard. So that's what I'm actually doing. If you recall my pick from a couple weeks back, I was doing like remote desktop over VR, and Windows key does not work well with VRs because they are based on Android, at least mine is. With this thingy, I can remap Windows key to something else and then use Power Toys, which could be another pick for some another week. I could use Power Toys to map it back to something decent. So this is how you can hack the world, actually. So I highly recommend this piece of software. This piece of hardware. Super hard to Google it, thanks to this lovely name, Bluetooth adapter for keyboard and mouse, which is only slightly better than your C programming language. Try Googling C. It's generally crazy. But anyway, highly recommend that. And now over to you, Sean.
I just have a hunch that this is just your excuse to be able to use the Dvorak simplified keyboard on your machine. But,
you could do that as well. I couldn't possibly comment.
Absidic, yeah. So my pick this week is another Netflix show that I watched and I kind of enjoyed. It was Damsel. So you kind of think of it as like damsel in distress. There's a princess that's been set up to be married this prince, and the family, says the prince is a rich kingdom or whatever, and the family with the princess is a poor family. So they said, the rich kingdom says, we'll give you lots of money if you let your daughter marry our prince or whatever. And so little did they know is that part of this setup is that the princess would be sacrificed shortly after the wedding to I guess I can say a dragon to appease the dragon and things like that. And then that's kind of the premise of the rest of the show. So I won't give it all away, but the star of the show, the princess, is Millie Bobby Brown. So everybody knows her from Stranger Things. So check out Damsel on Netflix if you have Netflix. All right, Haim, do you have a pick?
Okay, so surprise for me. Something that's come to my mind is something it's an open source a project based in Germany, I think. Pot of Freedom is kind of an alternative to Google Photos. Very cool. I've worked with these guys to localize it to right to left languages, which is Hebrew and Arabic. And they are very responsive, very cool team working on open source. You can run it all on premise in your home, which is something that I'm doing, and you can run it on some cloud if you like. They have a very good support if you need. It's basically a good way to represent your images and videos instead of just storing it in a NAS or something. But you want like a look and feel of Google Photos, which is to see history, to see places, to see, a very interactive user experience, and not just keep images somewhere. I think it's really good team of developers that's very passionate about the work, and it's open source, so it's always cool. So I will. This is the first mind that comes to my mind to pick. That's all. Really, thank you and appreciate for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you,
That
Haim.
was all yours. Thank you, Haim.
Yep. If our listeners want to get in touch with us at the show, they can reach out to me. I'm on all the platforms. I am at .NET Superhero. Thanks, everybody. And we'll catch our listeners on the next episode of Adventures in .NET.